Marty, it's easier to ask you these questions because you won a couple Stanley Cups. If you'd never won and that happened. But you won, so you've had that great moment that will never be taken away. I was always curious on the stick thing, though. I remember right after it happened, everyone was an expert on this whole thing, and the line I recall in '93, people said, like the days after, well, with around 10 minutes ago, the coach tells the players, guys, make sure you have good sticks. Was that an accurate assessment at the time? And would players who play with illegal sticks sometimes remove those sticks at the very end of games?
It's funny. I think if a player has been called in the past, a lot of times, some players would have legal sticks on the bench. It was so rarely called, especially at that time, because if they were incorrect in their call, and all you had to do was really file the heel a little bit and file the toe. And I can remember getting Al McGinnis' stick and looking at Al McGinnis and going, my God, that thing's way illegal. And then you measure it, and by God, it's not. So you're never really sure. So the fact that they measured at that time, we were shocked on our bench. And then when things start to come to light, I'm good friends with a lot of the guys on that team. I play alumni games with those guys. We've sat in the locker room and they've chuckled and they've said, "No, we had 5 guys on your team. We knew there was 5 guys for sure." And I'll tell you an interesting stat about that. Bill Gurney, who still works with the Kings, was our video guy. And Bill came to Barry Melrose after the game because they kept showing Montreal's bench. And when they called my stick, there were 7 or 8 of their guys. And Lucas said this to you guys, so this is nothing that handed their stick back to the trainers and got sticks. So maybe they were trading them out for legal sticks. I don't know for sure. I wasn't on their bench. And Barry Melrose says, you know what, I'm not interested in it. That's not how I coach. And so that's just another little circumstance that happened within the game.
Yeah, but this idea that with 10 minutes ago in a game, a coach might...
Again, some guys did. Not really the coach. Sometimes the trainers would do that with certain guys, but never really happened on our team. It had never been called. I did not take that stick and put a torch to it and bend it. That's how it came from the factory. And if truth be told, we at that point after the game knew that something had happened, that something a little fishy had happened. I used the same curvature stick in Game 3 and Game 4, and people could say, well, that's really stubborn. No, because we knew they weren't going to call it. And that's why we're so shocked that they called it in Game 2. So it is. It's disappointing to know that our team worked so hard and got to that situation, and something like that transpires. That's, when I'll be with certain guys on their team in situations where we're out having a beer, and then I'll look at them as they gloat a little bit, and then they'll kind of sheepishly say, yeah, you're right, and so that exists.
Yeah.
The most disappointing thing is how they found out, or maybe how really you guys had a chance to win that game and go on and win the series. So are you disappointed at how they found out, or really how that one play has sort of begun to,
Well, I think the question I have to ask you is, my being caught with a stick, is it a bigger story, or is how they found out a bigger story?
Probably how they found out if it was illegal,
Right. Because would they ever have called it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went through the Toronto series, which was a marvelous series. Boy, what a great time, for all of us players. And I think as the organization, we could just feel the momentum that we got as a hockey team, winning Game 7 in Toronto. My sticks never changed from series to series. So that's did we have a chance to win? Yes. We played really well Game 3 and Game 4.
Mm-hmm.
My guys played really hard. We outplayed Montreal. We just didn't outscore them. I mean, we took both games to overtime. They were really good hockey games. The Forum was rocking. It was a great time.
Did you find out soon after? Because you don't make that call until you're 100% certain, just because of what could happen to your team. So when they made that call, did you know they probably did something?
We knew. We at that point when the game was over, we were kind of like, what happened here? Why? What happened? Montreal, if you ask Peter Demers is funny. He was around the game forever. A lot of times, things would come up missing out of the locker room and different things. So, I flew with Wayne the other day, and Wayne was just shaking his head, and he goes, in Montreal, you never knew what you were going to get from that type of, some things would be missing or what have you. So the accessibility that they had was probably better than most teams in the league.
Have you been amazed at the shelf life for that incident among King fans?
Well, I just think that originally, I was hoping that the management at the time, Nick Beverly and those guys, would have come out and made a statement or whatever, but nothing was said. So it really did kind of take a life of its own. you know, and it really did. And I wasn't about to stand up and say something funny, because I really didn't know. You know, shortly thereafter, the police officer was on the bench, he's talked to Luke, which Luke has basically told everybody about. Peter Demers has found out through trainers. I've had 3 or 4 of the three players for sure on their team, you know, sitting there telling me, and yeah, this is what we did. And so, it has had a lot of shelf life. I don't think anybody's ever stood up and said, hey, listen, let's put it into perspective, let's be honest. With the Kings being so successful right now, I think that this is a good time to get it out, get it over with. And like I said, you know, write whatever you want, say whatever you want, have whatever perspective you want. But I really do hope we can get back to celebrating the time that we're having, because I'm having a great time.
But the fans holding on to this and basically hanging that moment as the series lost.
You know what, it's not the fans. I have a marvelous relationship with the fans here in Los Angeles.
Oh, I know,
No.
they have held on to that moment as when they lost the cup.
Well, and again, I'm part of the media, so, you know, it's, I'm not, but I think that it's, a lot of that will be when it comes up in the media, and they'll read things because they're on the internet, they're passionate fans. So I think that you guys have a lot to do with their conversation and where their focus is. And they've held on to that, and I think that a lot of it is because when somebody will say something, they'll say, oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Is it fair that they held on to that moment as why you guys lost?
Oh, I don't think that fair is really a part of it. I think we go out, we play as hard as we can, and we do what we can. And I think we're proud of the organization that we have here, and I'm proud of my career. I don't think as a player you have the ability to stand back and say this is fair or not fair, because the fans have the ability and the right to think and choose and like the player that they like, or the past players that they like from their favorites, and that's great.
Are you absolved if they win the cup this year?
I don't think that I need anything to be absolved from.
Would you?
I've talked to fans, and
Yeah.
they certainly hold on to it. Do you think that goes
Well,
away?
but I think that
if they win?
if you were to honestly ask the fans, if Marty wasn't on the ice, would they have called somebody else? And they would kind of go, I never thought of that. Or if you just say, did you know that this is what happened and how they found out? They would probably say, I did not know that.
But
That is part of, I think, the equation.
watching you sign autographs the other day, the crowd that was standing around, whenever somebody asked him, and who's that? That's Marty McSorley. He had the illegal stick in '93.
Well,
I mean, but I'm saying is, are you absolved of that?
I don't. I don't think that there's. No, you know what? No, because I don't think that there's anything I need to be absolved from. I mean, if you talk to any